Hello and welcome to Archana 360 Degrees, mYdNA Rediscovering Framework. What if everything you think you need to become, you already are? क्या होगा अगर वो चीज जो आप बाहर ढूंढ रहे हैं वो पहले से अंदर हो? What if what you are searching for outside is already inside you? Today, I'm not going to teach you something new. Today, I'm going to show you something ancient, something science has confirmed, something every wisdom, tradition on the earth has named, something inside you, something which is running inside you before you had words for it. The journey of mYdNA, and so is the journey of your DNA. mYdNA मैंने बनाया नहीं. Actually, I did not create mYdNA. मैंने सिर्फ वो देखा जो पहले से था और अपने चैनल पे आपको वो दिखाया. I only saw what was already there and then I decided to show it to the world, to my network, to my audience. I want to tell you where mYdNA actually came from. Not the polished version, the true one. Polished version, I have already presented it to you. I want to tell you how it got into existence. I have to go back further than COVID because COVID में मैंने first time mYdNA rediscovering use किया था. I have to go back to my classroom when I was in grade 7 and grade 8. I was a science student. When I grew up, biochemistry is my major. And from the time I first saw it in a textbook, the DNA double helix, it stopped me completely when I was in grade 7 or 8. Not very clearly I remember. वो डायग्राम, वो स्पाइरल कुछ था उसमें जो सिर्फ मुझसे बातें करता था. That diagram, that spiral, there was something in it that spoke only to me. I didn't just study it, I drew it, I fused it, I created structures around it, and no one had asked me to create. And in many competitions for art and drawing, I actually won prizes for those creations. Appreciation, recognition for something I did simply because I loved it. मुझे तब नहीं पता था कि मैं अपनी जिंदगी का ब्लूप्रिंट बना रही हूँ. छोटी थी, grade 7-8 में. I didn't know then that I was drawing the blueprint of my own life. Fused DNA helix. वो double DNA helix stayed with me through every degree, every role, every city, every chapter. A shape I loved without knowing why. जब मैं बड़ी हो रही थी ना, तो 10th पास करने के बाद बिकॉज बायोलॉजी में इंटरेस्ट था, आई एक्चुअली वांटेड टू बिकम अ डॉक्टर. और मैंने बहुत सारे डॉक्टर्स के एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स भी दिए बिकॉज आई वॉज जस्ट अट्रैक्टेड टूवर्ड्स द होल थिंग लाइफ इज. 12th पास करने के बाद मेरे सारे अटेम्प्ट्स में, आई डोंट नो, मे बी द यूनिवर्स और मे बी आई डिडंट वर्क दैट हार्ड, मैं एडमिशन MBBS का ग्रैब नहीं कर पाई फॉर वॉट एवर रीजन्स. आई डिड वर्क हार्ड. और मुझे डेंटिस्ट में एडमिशन मिल गया था और उस समय लोग डेंटिस्ट या डेंटल सर्जन्स को इतनी वैल्यू नहीं देते थे. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट 1988. तो मैंने बोला मुझे डेंटिस्ट नहीं बनना है. एंड I went all differently into a normal stream of science study, which actually helped me out. खैर दूसरी बार माई डीएनए आया एग्जिस्टेंस में 2020. The world stopped every one of us, regardless of title, industry, country, but we were all forced into the same thing, stillness. दुनिया रुक गई थी और उस रुकने में कुछ दिखा. The world had stopped, and in that stopping, something became visible. I had been a senior professional for 3 decades, always moving, always delivering, always the next city, the next role, the next challenge. COVID took all of that away. And in that silence, something I had never had time to hear before, I started asking a question I had never stopped long enough to ask. Who am I underneath all of this? Who am I? कौन हूं मैं जब रोल नहीं है, जब टाइटल नहीं है, जब कोई नहीं देख रहा है? Who am I when no one is watching? Instead of feeling empty, I actually felt full when I asked this question to me during COVID. अजीब था, बाहर सब खामोश, अंदर कुछ बोल रहा था. Strange, everything outside had gone quiet. Something inside me was still speaking very clearly, very politely, very beautifully. And slowly, the way light comes through a window before the sunrise, I began to see a pattern. There was a part of me that had never changed through every role, every continent, every chapter. There was a version of me that showed up differently in every room but was always recognizably me. There were 4 arenas of my life always operating, even when I wasn't conscious of them. There were there was a core, something that not a single failure in 30 years had actually touched. And there was something I was building, whether I call it legacy or not. ये सब पहले से था. मैं सिर्फ इतने दिनों से देख नहीं पाई थी. It was already there. I had simply been blind to it. And then the shape came back. DNA, the one from grade 7 double helix. वो स्पाइरल जो मैंने बचपन में बनाया था वो मेरी जिंदगी थी. That spiral I had drawn as a child was my life. I named it mYdNA, my DNA. Not randomly, not as a brand exercise, because a chemistry and biochemistry graduate saw her entire life in the shape she had loved since childhood. M, the permanent me. Y, the activated you of me. The 4 dimensions: soul, strategy, success, and spirituality. N, the nucleus, indestructible core, architecture I was building. I created a TikTok account during COVID, and on LinkedIn also I posted as hashtag and at the rate mydna rediscovery. I shared some early thoughts, some early posts, and then life moved on. The world reopened, the calendar filled again, and my DNA, like a seed planted in good soil, waited. बीज बोया था कोविड में, पानी मिला करियर गैप में. The seed was planted in the COVID time. It was watered by my career gap, the 730 days of the silence and my confession, which I did. Because here is what the career gap did that COVID couldn't. COVID gave me the silence to see the framework. The career gap actually gave me the pressure to live inside it. Every letter of mYdNA was tested. As I say, it's a lived framework. Every claim I had made about the permanent self, the indestructible nucleus, the architecture being built in silence, life asked me to prove it. Or my DNA tika raha. It held. So when I tell you this framework already exists inside you, I'm not speaking as a theorist. I am speaking as a girl who drew DNA spiral in grade 7 or 8, and as a chemistry and a biochemistry graduate who saw her life in the double helix. As a professional who built this in a pandemic, put it down and watched it prove itself in the hardest chapter of her life. This is not a YouTube concept. This is a lived truth. और अब वो seed पेड़ बन रहा है. And now that seed is becoming a tree. And here is what made me certain this was never mine to create alone. When I went looking in science, in the ancient text, in psychology, in biology, every tradition, every century, every culture had already named what I was seeing. The truth, it exists, it will not disappear. So there is a history, and I'm going to share all of it today in their own language, in their own time, but always the same thing. Let me show you letter by letter. But first, something most people never notice about this word yet because my channel is new. mYdNA, if you see the logo, M is small letter, Y caps, D is small letter, N and A are in caps. Look at the capitalization. It is not random. It is not a design choice. It is a code which I created myself upon my research. The lowercase letters M and D, they represent what was given, what was discovered, what existed before you even arrived. The uppercase letters Y and A, they represent what was built, what was coded through experience, what you constructed through living. जो मिला वो छोटा लिखा, जो बनाया वो बड़ा. mYdNA. What was given is written in small, it came with us. What was built or what we built is written in large because we did it. Humble foundations, sovereign structures, both inside the same world, both inside the same person. Letter M, the permanent self. M is equal to me. It's lowercase. Humble, given, foundational. Lowercase m, the most personal letter, the most intimate word, me, मैं, before any role, before any title, before any framework, simply the human being. It is written small not because it is unimportant. It is written small because it is the ground. It is the ground. And ground does not need to announce itself. जोर जोर से नहीं बोलना है. It is there. It is the foundation. In 2001, neuroscientist Marcus Raichle made a discovery that changed brain science forever. He found that when the human brain is at complete rest, not performing, not achieving, a specific network of regions become intentionally active. And he called it the default mode network. Your brain's home base, it holds your sense of self, your autobiographical memory, your internal narrative of who you are. It is more active in stillness than in busyness. It is the system that answers one question: who am I? Now let's go back to 3000 years back. I am Atma Brahma. This self is Brahma, the unchanging eternal witness, the one that remains when everything else falls away. Mandukya Upanishad, 9th and 6th century BC. Neuroscientists called it the default mode network. The ancient sages called it Atma. मैंने उसे नाम दिया M. I called it M. Three different centuries, three different languages, one truth, always running inside you. Letter Y, the you that shows up. Y is equal to you in uppercase, activated, sovereign built. Uppercase Y is the activated version of human, the one the world sees, built on top of M, rising from the foundation. So Y is capitalized for a reason. Because this version of you was not given to you. It is what you built. Every role you stepped into, every room you walked into differently, every time you chose to show up as a leader, as a professional, a creator, that was why being constructed deliberately, layer by layer. Are you exactly the same person in a boardroom as you are at home? Of course not. And neither am I. And neither is anyone. और ये कोई वीकनेस नहीं है, ये आपका डिजाइन है. दिस इज नॉट अ फ्लॉ, इट्स योर डिजाइन. कार्ल जंग, द ग्रेट स्विस psychologist, identified this over a century ago. He called it the persona, named after the masks worn by actors in ancient Greek theatre. The persona is the identity we wear for different arenas, not false, not fake, but curated ones. The professional self, the leader self, the creator self. Jung said the persona is necessary, healthy, human. But the danger comes when we forget that M exists underneath, when we make mistake Y for everything. Whenever you stand, be the soul of that place. रूमी ने कहा 13th century. Show up fully, but know who is doing the showing up. Y दिखाता है, M जानता है कौन दिखा रहा है. Y performs, M knows who is performing. This is why M comes before Y in my DNA. Always. The foundation before the structure, the given before the built. Letter D, the four dimensions. D is equal to dimensions in lowercase, discovered, pre-existing, foundational. The 360-degree. Lowercase d has four dimensions: soul, strategy, success, spirituality, written small. Because M, these were not invented, they were discovered. Think of cardinal directions: north, south, east, west. No one created them. They were always there. Someone simply named them so we could navigate. डी बिल्कुल वैसे ही है, हमेशा था, बस नाम नहीं था. That is what D is, always there, just didn't have a name. 5,000 years ago, the ancient Vedic sages defined four fundamental aims of every human life. They called them the Purusharthas, from Purusha, the soul, and Artha, the objective, the soul's objective. Dharma, the righteous purpose, your soul dimension. Artha, material strategy and prosperity, your strategy dimension. Kama, fulfillment and achievement, your success dimension. And moksha, liberation, spiritual freedom, your spirituality dimension. He who sees all beings in his self and his self in all beings, he never suffers. When he sees all the creatures within his true self, jealousy, grief, and hatred vanishes. Isha Upanishad. Four dimensions, one complete life, not a new map. The oldest map already inside every human who has ever lived. उन्होंने 5,000 साल पहले लिखा. मैंने आज के जमाने में पढ़ा. दोनों ने एक ही चीज देखी. What I'm trying to say is they wrote this 5,000 years ago. I read it in our era. Both saw the same thing. I did not create these four dimensions. I recognized them and I presented it to you in my style, in my DNA. Letter N, the nucleus. N in uppercase, coded through crisis, through success, through failures, each and every event and episode of your life, hardened through pressure, indestructible. Uppercase N is written in all cap large because this was not given. This was built through different moments in your life we chose to continue. That is the nucleus. In my DNA, the nucleus is your indestructible core, not touched, not unscathed, indestructible. Now, come into the biology with me, my favorite subject. This is where my chemistry background also makes it personal. Inside every one of us, 37 trillion cells, there is a nucleus. The nucleus holds the DNA, the original code, the blueprint of who you are. The cell can be damaged, stressed, worn down, destroyed even. But the nucleus, it holds the code. It is intact, ready to regenerate, ready to rebuild anytime, anywhere, any space. I did not borrow this metaphor from a book. I studied this. I drew this. I knew this before I knew I was living it. And now, every wisdom tradition confirms what biology already shows. In Hindu philosophy, the ancient system of Nadi describes channels of energy flowing through the body. The word Nadi, 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 itself means tube, pipe, nerve, blood vessel, pulse. The channels through which prana, the life force, flows. ancient text describes 72,000 nadis running through every vessel, every nerve, every cell of our body. And they say through all of them that the divine flows. कहते हैं ना, Brahma does not reside in a temple far away. According to the Hindu philosophy, the divine is carried through every channel of our body, through the very blood that keeps us alive. भगवान को मंदिर में मत ढूंढो, वो आपकी हर नाड़ी में है, ऐसा कहते हैं, ऐसा सुनते आए हैं बचपन से. Do not search for God in any temple. He flows through every channel inside you. We are closer to him than his jugular vein. ऐसा कुरान में कहा है, सूरा 50/16. Allah is closer to you than your own heartbeat. The nucleus of every cell is closer to you than your own breath. Both are saying the core cannot be reached by what happens outside. Dwell in peace in the home of your own being, and the messenger of death will not be able to touch you. गुरु नानक जी ने गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब में कहा है. He called it home of your own being. Biology calls it nucleus. Jung called it the self, the archetype of wholeness at the center of the entire psyche. Vedanta calls it Brahma. This self cannot be cut by weapons, burnt by fire, made wet by water, or dried by the wind. It is eternal, all-pervading, stable, immovable, and everlasting. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 24. So this is not philosophical poetry, a description of what you are made of, a description of the biochemistry student. हर ट्रेडिशन, हर सदी, हर भाषा एक ही बात कह रहे हैं. Every tradition, every century, every language is saying only one thing. There is something inside you that cannot be broken. और ये मैं नहीं कह रही, ये साइंस कह रहा है, ग्रंथ कह रहे हैं, ये आपका अपना अंदर कह रहा है. I am not the one who's saying it. Uppercase A, architect. The architecture, the largest structure, the most visible, your masterpiece. Architecture is what you deliberately build with M, Y, D, and N. So it is your legacy, the life you design consciously, not the life that happens to you. So most people actually think legacy is something you build after success, after the title, the wealth, the recognition. Modern science says otherwise. Epigenetics, one of the most revolutionary fields in biology, reveals that your experiences, choices, and environment literally rewrites which parts of your genes are expressed. Not the DNA code itself that remains, but the activation patterns. What switches on, what switches off, what carries forward, what you miss, what you don't, everything. And these changes echo forward. What you build today biologically, spiritually, professionally, it travels into the next generation, the genetic codes. You are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny. उपनिषद में कहा गया है 9th सेंचुरी BCE में. उपनिषद का नाम था बृहद्रनायका या बृहद्रनायका उपनिषद 9th सेंचुरी। ये उपनिषद 3000 साल पुराने हैं। एपिजेनेटिक्स कंफर्म्स इट टुडे। योर चॉइसेस आर योर आर्किटेक्चर। Everyone has been made for some particular work and the desire for that work has been put in every heart, ऐसा रूमी कहता है। So your architecture was not accidental. The desire was seeded in you. In grade 7, in a double helix drawing, in pandemic moment of stillness, I have been building in every choice, every return of my nucleus, every time I showed up when it was hard. एपिजेनेटिक्स बोलती है कि इनहेरिटेड जीन एक्सप्रेशन है, आर्किटेक्चर बोलता है लेगेसी। एक ही चीज एक बार फिर। You were never just living your life, you were always building your architecture. मेरी रिसर्च इसको प्रूव भी करती है। So let me say it very plainly. M, the default mode network in neuroscience, the Atma in Upanishads, already running, already inside you and inside me. Why the persona in Jung's psychology? The performing, adapting, activated self every human has always had, always operating inside you. D, the four Purusharthas from 5,000-year-old Vedic wisdom, already the map of every complete human life, the four dimensions, soul, strategy, success, and spirituality. The nucleus, biological, nucleus of every cell, the nadis of Hindu philosophy carrying the divine through your body, the self in Jung, Brahma in Vedanta, the home Guru Nanak spoke of, the self that cannot be cut, burned, all of it. A, the architecture, epigenetics, the Upanishad law of desire and destiny, Rumi's call to your particular work already being written in you every single day. मैंने ये इन्वेंट नहीं किया, आई डिड नॉट इन्वेंट एनी ऑफ दिस। मैंने सिर्फ देखा, पहचाना, रिसर्च किया, पढ़ा और नाम दिया ताकि आप भी देख सको। mYdNA. I only saw it and named it. So mYdNA is not a brand, it is not a YouTube channel, it is not something that was created in a career gap only. It was drawn by a girl in grade 7, named by a scientist in a pandemic, proven by a professional in the hardest chapter of her life. mYdNA is the operating system of a human life. और ये ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम आप में पहले से इंस्टॉल्ड है। मैं कहती हूँ आप में है, इट इज ऑलरेडी इनसाइड यू। टुडे आई प्रूव्ड इट टू यू एंड दैट ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम इज वर्किंग इनसाइड यू। You did not need me to give you anything today. You came here already carrying the nucleus in your DNA, already running the default mode, already living across the four dimensions, already building the architecture. बस अब आप जानते हो, and knowing that changes everything. Because when you know what you are built on, no gap, no title, no season of silence, कुछ भी उसको हिला नहीं सकता. That's your foundation. Stop acting so small. You are the universe in an ecstatic motion. Rumi ने कहा, you were born with this. So silence speaks louder than words. Your 360 journey continues 1 degree at a time. I hope my research आपको पसंद आई, आपको समझ में आई, क्योंकि आज मैंने बहुत ही डिटेल में आपको प्रेजेंट किया। I will see you in the next video, which is also very exciting, eye-opening.